This video explains how to calculate logarithms using the log function in the R programming language. So without too much talk, let's dive into the R code. In this video I will show you several applications of the log function in R, and in the first example we are simply applying the log function to one numeric value, as you can see in line 2 of the code. So in line 2 of the code we are applying the log function to the value 3 to calculate the logarithm of this value. So if you run line 2 of the code, you can see at the bottom in the RStudio console that the logarithm of the value 3 is returned, so in this case 1.098. We can also specify the base of the logarithm, as you can see in line 4 of the code. So in line 4 of the code I'm again applying the log function to the value 3, but then I'm specifying the base to be equal to 5. So if you run line 4 of the code, you can see that a different result is returned. So this time we have returned the value 0.682, which is the logarithm of the value 3 with a base of 5. Similar to that, we could also choose a base of 2, as you can see in line 6 of the code. So if you run line 6 of the code, another output is returned at the bottom in the RStudio console, which is the logarithm of the value 3 with a base of 2. Now, the R programming language also provides some convenience functions to calculate common bases, such as the base of 2, as you can see in line 8 of the code. So in this case, we are applying the log2 function, and this by default uses a base of 2. So if you run line 8 of the code, you can see that the same output is returned as in the previous example. However, this time we have used the log2 function instead of the log function. Similar to that, we can also use the log10 function, as is illustrated in lines 10 to 12. So in line 10 of the code, I'm using the log function for the value 3 with a base of 10. So if you run this line of code, you can see that the result is 0.477. However, if you run the log10 function to the value 3, then the same output is returned. So the log10 function is another convenience function that is provided by the R programming language. So in the first examples of this tutorial, we have applied the log function to a single value. However, it's also possible to apply the log function to a vector of values, and this is what I want to show you in the next examples. So in line 14 of the code, we are first creating our own vector object, which is called myVec. So if you run this line of code, you can see at the top right that a new vector object is appearing, which contains 10 integer values. And if you run line 15 of the code, you can see that our vector contains the values 1 to 10. Now, if we want to calculate the logarithm of each of these values, then we simply have to apply the log function to our vector object, as you can see in line 17 of the code. So if you run this line of code, you can see that a vector of outputs is returned, and each of these outputs corresponds to one element in our input vector. Similar to that, we can also specify the base that we want to use to calculate the logarithms for all the elements in a vector object, as you can see in line 19 of the code. So in this case, we are applying the log function to our vector object, and we are calculating the logarithm with a base of 5. So if you run line 19 of the code, another output vector is returned at the bottom in the RStudio console. That's all I wanted to explain in this video. In case you want to learn more on this topic, you may check out my homepage, statisticsglobe.com, because on my homepage I have recently published a tutorial in which I'm explaining the content of this video in some more detail. I will put a link to this tutorial into the description of the video, so you can find it there. If you have liked this video, or if you have any questions, let me know in the comments section below. I'll try to respond to all comments as soon as I can. Furthermore, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel to get notified about future video releases. I have already published about 500 videos on this channel, and I'm releasing new videos on a daily basis. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next video.